Welcome to the Story of Us. Here we plunge into the annals of history to reveal the narratives that built our nation. 1861 marked the beginning of a bitter struggle that would redefine the United States. As the year dawned, tensions had reached a tipping point. The first cannon shot, fired at Fort Sumter in South Carolina, signified the start of a war that was to shape the course of American history. Fort Sumter, a symbol of federal authority, was attacked by Confederate forces on April 12th. After a 34-hour bombardment, the fort surrendered. This unprecedented attack on federal property sparked outrage in the North and solidified the resolve of the South. In the aftermath, a wave of secession swept across the southern states. 11 of them would eventually form the Confederate States of America, a new nation separate from the Union, founded on the principles of states' rights and the preservation of slavery. The first major battle of the war took place at Bull Run, near Manassas, Virginia. An overconfident Union army marched towards the Confederate capital, expecting a quick and decisive victory. However, the battle turned into a chaotic rout, with Confederate forces under the command of General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson holding their ground and forcing the Union forces to retreat. The Battle of Bull Run was a rude awakening for the North, shattering any illusions of a swift end to the conflict. It was clear that the South was prepared to fight, and fight hard for their cause. This first major clash also marked a turning point in the war, as it became apparent that this was not to be a minor rebellion, but a full-scale civil war, the likes of which the world had never seen before. The war was far from over, with both sides digging in for a long and bloody conflict. The stage was set, the actors in place, and the curtain had just been raised on one of the most transformative periods in American history. The war raged on with victories and losses on both sides. As the dust of countless battles settled, two significant confrontations emerged that would forever change the trajectory of this bloody conflict. The battles of Antietam and Gettysburg were not merely violent clashes on American soil. They were pivotal moments in our history that began turning the tides of war. Antietam, also known as the Battle of Sharpsburg, was the single deadliest day in American military history. Its blood-soaked fields bore witness to the ferocity of the conflict. Yet from this brutal confrontation, a glimmer of hope emerged. It provided President Abraham Lincoln with the victory he needed to announce the Emancipation Proclamation. This critical decree transformed the war from a struggle for union into a crusade for freedom, further fueling the Northern cause. Meanwhile, the Battle of Gettysburg, a grueling three-day ordeal, marked the first major Confederate defeat and served as the war's turning point. It quelled the South's hope of international recognition and support, while bolstering the North's morale and resolve. In conjunction with these pivotal battles, another significant shift occurred. African-American troops, previously sidelined, were now welcomed into the Union ranks. Their introduction was more than a strategic move. It was a powerful statement of the Union's commitment to liberty and equality. These brave men fought not only for their nation, but for their own freedom, adding another layer of depth to the Northern cause. These developments, both on and off the battlefield, began to shift the momentum towards the North. The Union, fueled by the spirit of emancipation and the contributions of African-American troops, began to gain ground. It was no longer just about preserving the Union. It was about shaping a nation that truly embodied its founding principles of liberty and equality for all. With the tide of war turning, the Union pushed forward, determined to end the conflict. Yet, as we'll see, the road to peace was fraught with challenges, and the scars of war would leave a lasting imprint on the nation. As the war drew to a close, a new challenge emerged: rebuilding a divided nation. The surrender at Appomattox Courthouse marked the end of the Civil War, but also the beginning of a daunting journey towards healing and unity. It was on April 9, 1865, when Confederate General Robert E. Lee met Union General Ulysses S. Grant to officially end the conflict that had torn the country apart. Just 5 days after this monumental event, the nation was shaken again by the tragic assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, a leader who had steered the Union through the storm of war and had plans for a compassionate reconstruction. His vision, however, would not die with him. The years following the Civil War, known as the Reconstruction era, were characterized by significant changes in the fabric of American society. The 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, abolished slavery, marking a significant step towards equality. This was followed by the 14th Amendment in 1868, granting citizenship to everyone born or naturalized in the United States, including former slaves. The 15th Amendment, ratified in 1870, guaranteed that the right to vote could not be denied based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. These amendments, known collectively as the Reconstruction Amendments, profoundly reshaped the nation's laws and society. They marked the beginning of a long and ongoing journey towards equality and justice for all, regardless of race or background. Yet the path towards unity and equality was not smooth. The resistance to these changes, the struggle for rights, and the fight against prejudice and discrimination were intense. The end of the war did not mean the end of the conflict, it merely changed the battlefield. Though the war had ended, the struggle for unity and equality was far from over. The Civil War, a defining moment in our history, left a profound legacy that continues to shape our nation. This was a war that changed the very fabric of American society in ways more profound than we could imagine. One of the most significant outcomes was the abolition of slavery. A dark stain on the nation's conscience, slavery was finally eradicated, leading to the freedom of over 4 million African Americans. The Emancipation Proclamation issued by President Lincoln and the subsequent 13th Amendment to the Constitution ensured that the chains of bondage were broken forever. But the war did more than just end slavery. It fundamentally transformed the relationship between the federal government and the states. Prior to the war, states often saw themselves as individual entities with considerable autonomy. The Civil War, however, reinforced the supremacy of the federal government. The war demonstrated that the Union, as a collective entity, was more than just a loose confederation of states. Furthermore, the Civil War changed the social and economic landscape of the country. It ushered in a new era of industrialization, especially in the North, which had far-reaching implications for the economy. The mechanization of agriculture in the South, driven by the need to find alternatives to slave labor, marked the beginning of significant economic changes. The war also altered the social fabric of the nation. It brought about a shift in societal norms and attitudes, challenging the status quo and paving the way for movements advocating for women's rights and civil rights. The scars of the Civil War still remain, reminding us of a turbulent past. Yet they also symbolize the strength and resilience of a nation that managed to rebuild itself from the ashes of conflict and division. The American Civil War, a testament to the resilience and spirit of the American people, remains a pivotal chapter in our nation's story. And so, the tale of the American Civil War, a story of division, struggle, and ultimately, unity. We've journeyed together through this pivotal period of American history, from the mounting tensions of the prelude to war, to the first shots fired, the turning of the tides, and the eventual end of the conflict. We've seen how the war's end brought about a period of reconstruction, reshaping the nation's identity and legacy forever. Understanding this chapter of our past is vital as it continues to shape our present and future. The American Civil War was more than a battle between the North and the South. It was a struggle for identity, freedom, and unity. Its legacy serves as a reminder of the cost of division and the value of unity. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the past. Subscribe for more intriguing narratives from Story US.